I was thinking about myself as an overeater, no longer a binge eater, and I'm standing here in my sweaty betties, like ready for a workout and having some breakfast. I suddenly felt like, oh, I've cleaned up the kitchen, I've washed the kitchen floor, and I want some breakfast. And I wanted to check in with you at this moment and talk about being an overeater, and living with yourself as someone with overeating tendencies, and potentially as somebody who has recovered from some very disordered eating, but still is not a shiny example of before and after. So, like, this is what I've chosen for my breakfast. It's a black pepper oatcake with some ultra salty whole food peanut butter and some 85% dark chocolate. And I'm eating it standing up at the kitchen counter. There's some remnants from somebody's packed lunch. I don't think I'll eat those. Here's like my fourth cup of tea because I'm quite compulsive about hot drinks. I'm looking out of my window at the day. And yeah, I feel like I want to say to you, it's Eating Disorders Awareness Week. And this idea that's in the coaching community of, like, here I am, a coach, and like a shining transformation, a polished example, a Pilates ripped, example of what recovery can look like is sometimes not realistic. I work as an eating psychology coach, and I coach people out of binge eating, and especially I am a great proponent of my own concept, binge diminishing. The idea that instead of trying to stop binging, instead of trying anything, we're really gonna gently bring awareness, consciousness to what we're doing, and listen to it and interrupt those patterns. So some of the overeating patterns that I'm left with post binging, and I haven't binged for 25 years, not what I would really call a binge. And in those days, it would be eating an industrial quantity of food, and then so much so that I would have to go to sleep and sleep it off. And it really correlated for me with times of intense self-pressure around work. And perhaps that's why I'm doing a bit of weird eating, a bit of random stand up at the counter eating, because today I'm gearing up for a festival, a women's festival for International Women's Day that I've been really instrumental in organising, and I've got this sense of like all of the things I need to get on with today, including this workout. And perhaps this pressure is indeed making me feel like I can't sit down and eat. So I'm bringing the most consciousness that I can do to eating standing up. What I'm trying to say is that the kind of overeating that I'm left with, that I work with in an ongoing way, is kind of emotional overeating. It's a lot of standing up at the counter eating. Sometimes it's popping in, because I work from home, popping in and just, hacking off bits of cheese in between, calls, or in between hour blocks of work. So a kind of grazing activity. And yeah, I think those are the main things that I find myself doing that still look very much like overeating, and I'm still working with. But I want to normalize still working with things. I want to normalize a lifelong food psychology process, because I know none of us want it to drag on all our lives, but the fact is we eat all of our lives, and we have these bodies all of our lives, and they present their own new challenges too. It is, I know, you don't want to hear from anybody again saying, it's a journey. But is there another metaphor for the fact that, we're in a process with our eating. We meet it 200 bites a day, and all we're looking for really is that some of those decisions, a few of those decisions, are slightly better quality decisions. I mean, slightly more tuned into your body, slightly more aware of emotional impulses, perhaps slightly more present and able to say, I'm saying a compassionate no to myself about that because I know there'll be some food later, or I'm fine actually, or some of those things. It's also Eating Disorders Awareness Week, as I have said, and I just want to say that compulsive eating is disordered eating, and emotional eating, and I'm not just talking about the a little bit of comfort eating that we all do. It's a cold day, I want hot food for comfort. It's Christmas, I want to celebrate. But really feeling like you're eating emotionally because of stress, needing reward, needing to compensate for the difficulties in your life, a lot, that is disordered eating. Eating when your brain is telling you, please stop, and you feel bad about yourself, is disordered eating. Seeing yourself gain weight and kind of feeling like you can't put the brakes on is disordered eating. And can we take ourselves seriously as dysfunctional eaters? Can we accept that we might need some help? And I don't mean necessarily running off to the doctor and saying I've got an eating disorder. I'm not telling you to over dramatize things. Please, if you do feel like you have an eating disorder, if you're making yourself throw up, if you're restricting, if you've lost your periods, please do go to the doctor. I don't want to discourage you from that, but what I'm saying is that taking ourselves seriously is not about pathologizing or diagnosing ourselves. It's about saying, oh, this is painful, being stuck in this pattern. And can I actually accept that I might need some help to change the spin, the orbit of this pattern? Can I accept that I might need help that's like companionship, help that's like space to process emotionally, help that's like psychoeducational skills that allow me to make sense of what's happening for me, to see those patterns with greater clarity, to allow myself to pattern interrupt? What about self-respect, help to value a self and encourage a self that maybe hasn't had that very much in their life? These kind of help, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm certainly not talking about cure or advice or lose weight quickly. I'm talking about holding yourself as an overeater and continuing to diminish your overeating whilst being infinitely kind and positive and enthusiastic and creative about how you could do that and what that might look like. That's my rant for today. I hope if this has reached you and you've got to the end of it and that has touched you in some way, that you feel like dropping a comment, because I would love to hear your perspective on this. And I'm just going to tuck in to this weird breakfast treat thing, because I think it's actually going to be really satisfying to many taste levels, and it might not be the best choice, but it's a conscious choice at this moment. And in the scheme of all the things I'm going to eat today, it's going to totally balance out. And yeah, maybe I'll think about my breakfasts, and one of these days you'll see me here sitting down with a bowl full of something nice, and that would be much more Instagrammable than this. Lots of love.